Welcome to the StarCraft 2 What's Next panel.
Ladies and gentlemen, BlizzCon, how are you? Ah, yes, you're doing woo, as all crowds always are. Welcome to StarCraft 2 Beyond the Void, which is a very fancy way of saying StarCraft 2 What's Next. Here to talk about it are the absolute best human beings you will ever meet on the planet Earth, the members of the StarCraft 2 team. We have Christopher Reed, the lead UI designer who goes by Crash. Oh,
yes!
We have David Sum, the lead co-op designer. We have Michael Scipione, who is David Kim 2.0, the Versus designer, yes. Now, if any of you have any issues with balance at all, please come to Michael all weekend long. You'd be thrilled to hear your thoughts on how to fix the units. We also have the lead writer, Valerie Watrous, joining us today. And last but certainly not least, the lead artist, Travis Castillo. Woo! Woo! Now, typically as a host, it's my duty to guide and moderate the panel, but in this instance, I have the easiest job in the world as they have brought a full PowerPoint with visual aids and videos, so Crash, please begin the panel. What is Beyond the Void?
Absolutely. But before I get started, I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone on the team who has spent hours and hours, blood, sweat, and tears to make some of these wonderful things for all of you. It's great content, but I also want to thank the fans and all the feedback that you guys give. It's wonderful. It comes in. It really helps us make that new stuff, so please keep it coming. It's amazing. All right, so let's do it. StarCraft 2 is evolving, and as you heard from Mike, that there's a lot of things coming, a lot of things changing. With the evolution of StarCraft 2, one of the things that we really wanted to accomplish was clarity. Right now, there's a lot of ways to join the game, to come into the game, to play the game, but not everyone understands. I'm sure many of you have seen a guide just like this. And hats off to the community for making a guide like this. That keeps us developers honest. We have to adhere to this. But our goal with this is to make sure that we lessen or even completely remove the need for this type of guide. We want players who are coming in for this free-to-play moment to just understand how to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, I know even at the StarCraft 2 Summit, you were talking a lot about how many different vectors people have coming in. Even people like Artosis didn't even know what co-op was.
Right, Artosis.
Yeah, please let him know all weekend long.
What a noob. So with that in mind, one of the things we'll be changing, like I said, there's many ways to understand StarCraft. We have Legacy of the Void, we have the Covert Ops, but we'd like to make it understandable so that when you're talking about StarCraft 2, it's just StarCraft 2. So we're going to do that even with just the name. We'll be changing the name to strictly StarCraft 2, so when you're talking about it with your buddies, they understand.
This reminds me a lot of Hearthstone. No one refers to it necessarily by the expansion. It's just Hearthstone, and then there's different content among that.
Exactly. I think it just clarifies it really clear for everybody. More in that vein, we'll be changing multiplayer. I know this might be dramatic for some of you, but we're changing multiplayer to Versus. And the reason for that is that as players are coming in, there's confusion around the difference between co-op and multiplayer. They do kind of mean the same thing. So we're going to be changing multiplayer to Versus. That has a more visceral, and when you click on that button, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into.
Right. Now, I want to ask about free-to-play, because that was the thing that had me really hyped. I only found about this during the rehearsal for this yesterday. Talk to me about the free-to-play switch.
Oh, so free-to-play. This is one of the most exciting things that we've been working on, and again, one of our goals, as I said before, was clarity. But with free-to-play, there was another goal that we had, which was, again, just giving you more stuff. So with the introduction of this, we kind of took a look at the starter edition and saw what was already there. There was a lot of free content already available, but we wanted to make sure that you understand what's free and how to get it, as well as just throw more at you. So let's kick it off with Campaign. In Campaign, just as Mike said, Wings of Liberty will be completely free. So if you've been waiting to try the game for any reason, dive in, you get the entire campaign. That's end-to-end, all the missions, all the achievements, all the rewards, and you get to meet Tychus, which is my favorite character in StarCraft, so I'm really excited about this.
You know, I wanted to ask about Ranked because Mike mentioned that during the opening ceremony, that all of Ranked is completely free, all the units from all the expansions, regular old good Ranked mode.
Yeah, Ranked is free, and it's a unique way to kind of dive into it. So how we're offering ranked for free is that you'll have to earn your way into it. We're trying not to put a barrier that's too high or too hard for someone to climb to, but also has a deterrent for people who have bad behavior. So unranked and Versus AI will be now completely free. As soon as you come in, you'll be able to play those immediately. And then the first 10 wins of the day will unlock ranked ladder for you. So of course, that might be too high or too low. We'll be listening for your feedback. If you think that's too low or too high, we'll definitely be making alterations based on what you guys say.
And I want to bring this up because this came up at the StarCraft 2 Summit. It's obviously not just as easy as we just flip the switch to free and we're done. There's a lot of planning that comes into how do you organize all of this content. But the theme that keeps coming up is that things that used to be free are still free. Things that used to cost money, some of those are now free. In fact, it's not that it's being completely restructured, it's just that more of the game is accessible if you've never played before. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So instead of doing something where we were putting in a currency and you had to earn currency to unlock things, we didn't want to do that. We wanted to just give more away for free. Just play the game, enjoy the game. And then with that, how dare you try to do my transition for me? I told you, I need to at least demonstrate some value as the host here. With that, why don't we talk about co-op, David? Well, I'm going to jump in first, before David, because I'm still here, sir.
Damn, damn.
And the commanders will also be free up to level, I'm sorry. They will be free up to level 5. So if there's a commander that you've been dying to try, or you wanted to dive into, or have been reluctant with, now is your opportunity. And our goals with this wasn't to create a side mode where you could go in and try the commander in some sterile environment. We wanted it so that you could actually play with people, see what the commander's actually like, and I think that's a really cool way to do it.
Are Raynor and Kerrigan Artanis still completely free commanders in this?
Yes, Raynor, Kerrigan, and Artanis are still 100% free. You can play them from the beginning all the way up to the end through Ascension, Mastery. Also, Swan, Vorazun, Zagara, and Karax will remain available for free for anyone who buys the Void Box or the Digital Deluxe.
David, talk to me about the new commander.
I will, Mr.
Hit
Knight.
me with it.
So, as Mike mentioned, we are getting a new commander. It's Han and Horner
Like
together.
a duo, the
Like
first
a duo,
combo.
like a pair,
Yeah.
like they're married. So, Matt Horner, when we're thinking about him, as we're designing him, we're thinking about what is his fantasy. So of course, you're thinking Sky Terran, Dominion units, super strong, high stats. But also, what do you think about? Some of our favorite moments were him and his interactions with Mira Han. Gave us an opportunity to do a combination of gameplay as well as getting some really cool dialogue. If you guys aren't familiar with Mira Han, he actually wins her hand in marriage by playing a poker game. He didn't know what he was playing for, but he won, so he was forced to marry her.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Sounds like my marriage.
Yeah.
Oh my God, controversy. Well, the thing is, it's always better to win someone's hand in marriage in a game of poker than with something like a game of Monopoly. Right?
At least, yeah.
Slowly getting ground down as you keep landing on Boardwalk and Park Place every single time. One marries her hand of poker, great.
Yeah. So he wins. He doesn't know. Now they're forced to get married. She's way more into it than he is, and he's kind of trying to avoid it. It's hilarious. So the dialogue's awesome. So we kind of wanted to go with that theme. So this commander has a combination of mechanics and different play styles. So Horner, he's got his high stat units. He starts with a starport, and she attaches her mercenary tech lab to his starport. She gives him upgrades. And as you can see here, she gives her upgrades, so his units actually get like mercenary art attached to them.
It's very Mad Max style, it feels.
Yeah, so her units are like brutal and focus on damage. They're really fast. They even have on-death effects. You can see these Hellbats, as they die, they explode in fire. The enemies catch on fire and they get feared and they run around.
Yeah, no, you didn't mess up and lose your units. It was a tactical play, right?
It's tactical play, yeah. So she can replace units super fast. Another new unit is the bomber platform. So there's another combo mashup. So she provides the bomber platform. He provides the strike fighters. You can build up to 10 of these and use the top bar to call them down. You can target locations on the map.
Oh. Now, do they function like units that you can shoot down the bombers that fly by?
So they are vulnerable, so you don't want to go too far into enemy territory, but here you can see they do a lot of damage. The cooldown's pretty short, so it's a really powerful way to kind of start clearing some of the map.
What happens if you lose some of the bombers during those raids? Do you have to rebuild the bombing platform?
They will rebuild automatically.
Oh, okay. So
But there's
it's just like
a little bit
cooldown.
of a longer cooldown, so.
Got it.
You still want to be careful with them, because, you know, they're Matt Horner's bombers. He's very precise. Next up, we have basically a pirate ship. This is the assault galleon that is Mira Han's. It also functions as her production structure. So you can see here in this video that she's producing Reapers from it and has an attack. And it upgrades. You can add a hangar bay, and it launches assault drones.
So this is like a super carrier production building that can make units and also be like a mobile strike platform.
Yeah, pirate ships.
Yes.
Arr!
That is the best part about co-op is you don't need to worry about balance against another person as much. You get to make things that make you go, yeah.
Yeah, we're just like, what is cool?
Well, I'm seeing on the next slide. I'm very excited for you to show the next piece.
Yeah. This is Call in the Fleet. It's one of the ultimate abilities. This is Matt Horner's. So he can target the map, and it'll send a fleet of battlecruisers and Vikings across the map, and it'll shoot down enemies. It's not AoE. It's not random. He's very precise.
Oh, I can see the precision right
admiral.
there, yeah.
He's an admiral of the Dominion fleet. So.
This is like the Rainer battleship on steroids.
Yeah, it's pretty good damage. And then Mira Han is the exact opposite. So she's not precise. She's crazy, reckless, chaotic. So hers is space station reallocation, where you can target and she teleports her space station into the enemies. Doing telefrag damage.
This is the Rick and Morty episode.
Yeah, so basically anything it touches, it just instantly explodes, one-shots them.
And if it wasn't enough damage, I see that there's a post-teleportation explosion.
Yeah, so it'll release drones, and then after that, it'll nuke. So there's even more damage. So we like to blow things up and
Beautiful. Now, we heard a little bit about the part and parcel mission being included. Talk to me about that nuke.
Yeah, so this is the community contest winner. We had a contest where the community members got to build maps. So special shout out to the winner, Buzz Wally. I hope I said his name right. Is he here?
Yes!
Hey, everyone give him a round of applause.
Thanks to that man.
You, sir. Right there. So if you guys didn't get a chance to play it, it was this really awesome map where there was this mechanic where you collected parts, you built up a busted Archangel, it repaired itself, and they would march across the map and attack these, like these little boss fights with the Death Shards. So we really wanted to stay true to the original version of the map.
Yeah, yeah.
So some of the stuff we did, we tweaked a little bit of the mechanics, the timing. Travis here and his art team provided a full art pass. We got art support for new bosses, new effects, the terrain itself, the map just got this awesome art pass. And then Valerie here, she wrote the script for General Davis, is the map's announcer. So we got a little bit more of a backstory on General Davis, what she was doing before her story in Nova Covert Ops. So it's gonna go right into the official map pool, so everyone can play it.
And you mentioned this idea of amping up with boss fights in the game. Talk to me about that.
Well, so we wanted to stay original to that original mechanic. So here is General Davis. She's going to go explode these stasis chambers and release the boss for you to fight. So we replaced the Death Shards with these hybrid mashups with like Terran technology on them.
If you have bad micro, well, if there's one thing that video games has taught me, anytime there's red circles or red lines on the ground, run away. It's bad, it's not good.
Do not stand in fire, Day 9.
Lava's hot.
Excellent.
So both of these, the Commander as well as the map, are playable here at BlizzCon today. So you guys make sure and go check that out.
Beautiful.
Let us know what you think.
Yes. And I would just like to strongly note, if any of you are new to StarCraft or haven't played and are interested in free-to-play, I strongly recommend starting with Coop Commander. Super awesome, super fun way to get into the game for sure. And what are some of the future things coming down the pipeline for Commander? That
well, I just wanted to also mention that for the viewers at home, if you're feeling left out about not being able to play, it's coming later this month. So
awesome.
Look forward to that coming real soon. And speaking of which, on the next patch, some of the people on the forums, a couple of them, I'm sure, this is actually the most anticipated feature of all BlizzCon. It's the random commander option.
How pumped are you about random commander?
So exciting. So we're happy to give that. It's been a feature that people have been wanting for a while, so we're very excited to give that to you guys. And then the other thing that we're changing is the mutation challenges no longer require level 5. So if you like leveling up commanders basically by playing mutations, you can do that. So we're giving people more options. And we are also still looking at leaderboards and future war chests. We will have something for co-op players. It's a stim pack, basically an XP boost. So you can get those commanders leveled up faster, get those ascension levels cranking.
And in terms of the leaderboards, how is that intended to be structured? Is it more speed-based or efficiency-based?
Yeah, so we definitely wanted to avoid degenerate gameplay styles. Like some people were concerned, do I have to worry about how many units I lose, like KDA ratios, and like do I farm, do I get more kills?
Maybe I just turtle for 2 hours.
Yeah, like we don't want you to turtle for 2 hours. So basically it's an efficiency speed run. You want to do all the objectives, the bonus objectives, and then just do that as fast as you can. So you're playing the right way, playing with a friend, and so I think it's going to be a really cool mode.
That's awesome. Well, it's time to move on to the design patch with Michael, and this is not a balance patch per se, where you're making a few things weaker, a few things stronger. It's much more of shaping the game's approach, and if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm here representing the multiplayer design team today, and we're going to talk about the big design patch, as you mentioned. So we don't have like the goal to just change the game for the sake of change. We want to look at what the game state is and see if we can make some targeted changes to make everything better. And here are some of our overall goals that we had this year. Reducing game-ending moments. What we mean by that is sometimes you have that time where you and the other guy are battling each other and it's been going pretty well. You've destroyed some of his stuff, he's destroyed some of yours, and it's going very pleasantly. And then through the actions of a few units, you sort of suddenly can lose the game through a few ability casts. And we want to see which of those could we kind of make a little bit weaker, but without losing the impact and tension.
Yeah, I mean, you still want the tension, I would assume, and you still want to punish someone like me that gets really excited microing in a battle while he's losing all of his workers to an oracle back home, that sort of thing. Like, I should have been watching the minimap. I know it's my fault.
You should protect your base. You must defend it.
I still got it. I still got it, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to go over some of our big highlights here. This is not all the changes. If you want to see all the changes, we have blog posts about it on StarCraft2.com. But here's some of the ones we're going to go over here today. As you can see, up first is going to be Protoss with a building I think that you're very familiar with.
Oh, baby.
89.
Shield battery, yeah. StarCraft Remastered. I gotta say, I'm still so happy StarCraft Remastered is back. And now we got shield batteries. How do they function?
So shield batteries are a classic structure from Brood War. They work a bit differently this time, though. Now they actually recharge your shields automatically when your units are nearby. It can also recharge photon cannons automatically.
Okay.
You can also recharge buildings, but you have to do that yourself. You have to micro that you're on your own. So if somebody's trying to like break through your wall, you can then retarget these shield batteries to keep your wall up.
And I see these shield batteries are healing with an immortal against stalkers, and immortals are super good against stalkers. It looks like it's out healing the damage of one immortals. Like how fast or qualitatively are these things able to regenerate shields?
They're noticeably faster than a medevac, to give like the easiest comparison. And so up next, we've got the Raven. Speaking of Terran.
Well, I did want to ask about the mothership core being removed. The shield battery is sort of there to give an additional defense option now that that's...
So with the mothership core removal and the battery addition, what we wanted to try and do is move some of the Protoss' defensive options from being a singular unit and diffuse it out into their army. So we've actually made a few changes. Like Stalker weapon is different as well. Shield batteries are now in. Adepts have a bit more vision on their shade.
Oh,
so
I see.
The idea is to sort of diffuse its power down into other things, so it's a bit easier to spread out.
And I know all Terran players are real excited that the mothership core is out. Of course. Terran in the front row. He got tears streaming down his face. The mothership core is gone. Yes. Talk to me about the Raven. What's for Terran?
So the Raven has 3 new abilities. We've cut its previous 3. Replacing the Seeker missile is the anti-armor missile. As you can see here from the freeze frame, it still impacts and does big damage. Actually, it doesn't do big damage. I misspoke. It used to do big damage. Now it does a little bit of damage, but reduces armor by 3
and that,
on anything impacted.
That strikes me as super significant, given how in almost all the matchups, getting 3/3 is huge in terms of upgrades, and this just undoes all those armor upgrades in a blast.
Undo. That's what it does. And now you have to be very careful. It still does friendly fire, So if your opponent is watching, they could make you lose 3 armor.
And that's going to be a StarCraft highlight, no doubt.
We also gave it the repair drone. It's very aptly named. It sits there and it repairs your stuff, and it's a robot.
And again, in terms of the healing capability, is it equivalent to a medevac, or is it super strong like shield battery?
This one is equivalent to a medevac for now. We're still doing ongoing balance tuning, of course. The final ability is one I'm really excited about, is the interference matrix. This targets a psionic or mechanical unit, deactivates its weapons and abilities.
And you say psionic and mechanical, which is like a very specific and unusual set of tags. So
Right.
it mostly doesn't work against Zerg, except for, I guess it would be Queen, Infestor, Viper.
It also, because it deactivates abilities, it can be used in really interesting ways. Like if there's a warp prism that's activated and it's warping things in, if you hit it with this, it deactivates the warp-in field underneath it.
And I assume the same for medevac speed boosts?
Yes, if there's a medevac speed boost trying to get away from you and you hit it with this, it no longer can, it'll turn off its engines and also cannot lift up things or drop them while it's being inhibited.
That's awesome.
But be careful.
All right. A gentleman in the front
We have a
row
question
said,
outside of the
Q&A
question.
right now, and his question was, is it single target or AoE?
Single target.
Single target. Got you covered, buddy. All right.
So we've also got Fungal.
Yeah.
Fungal here with the Zerg. The infestor's changed a bit. Fungal now no longer holds you in place. We like promoting player micro. And now the radius is a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit more consistent.
So that way, if I have a giant pack of Mutalisks and Zerg versus Zerg, if I get hit with one Fungal, it's not guaranteed death, but I can very slowly kind of peel them away.
Yes, you can slowly run away and say, please move, go, 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 go. You can make it, little guy. And then sometimes they don't make it.
Now, I know you've had some of these changes, in terms of testing. Talking about the Marine, I know we've seen Stefano do really savage things with the infested Terrans.
So, the infested Marine is a bit different. He has an anti-air weapon now, and his ground weapon has been nerfed significantly. However, he does get upgrades again, so they can scale. This is to move into more of an anti-air role. And this actual video is actually slightly out of date. Balance is ongoing. They used to spawn really fast on creep, and just this week we actually changed it so that they don't spawn as fast on creep. We got a lot of feedback from the pros and other high-level players saying that this made them hit too hard too fast.
Right. And you talked about how this has actually just recently been changed in design.
Yep.
What sort of things can we expect down the pipeline as you're continuing to tune the game?
So yeah, this is definitely not the end. This is the start of balance tuning. We don't want to do this. We don't plan on doing a big patch every year, but we will do it as needed and as warranted, because part of the thing is we want to respect players' time investment. StarCraft's kind of a difficult game, we hear. Some people say that. And so we want to make sure we respect people's time investment and that they feel good about getting good at the game.
Oh, you mean you don't want them to spend a whole bunch of time practicing a certain strategy that you just negate by...
Right, we want to be careful about that.
Yeah, it's a good thing that Protoss players don't rely on the Mothership Core. Take that, Protoss players. Well, I want to move on to the Shadow Wars comics that were part of the War Chest. Valerie, talk to me a little bit about what's been going on with the Shadow Wars comics.
Yeah, so the Shadow Wars comic series debuted with our first War Chest. If you played Nova Covert Ops and read the novel StarCraft Evolution, then Shadow Wars takes place after those events. So it's continuing the story forward in the StarCraft universe. Little recap for you. We start off by breaking the tentative peace that we had in place at the end of Evolution. All three races were basically getting along in so much as they can. But here in the comics, we've seen this group of Terrans arrive on the planet Edina to recover some materials. The Protoss are upset because they feel like the Terrans have violated the demilitarized zone. But actually, both of them are just pawns in the larger game that Niadra has been planning all of this time. And it's very interesting because we haven't seen Niadra since the events of Heart of the Swarm, where Kerrigan tasked her to eliminate the Protoss.
Well, talk to me about some of the characters that are going to show up.
Absolutely. So among the Protoss, as their leader, we have Arun. He's a very traditionalist, protective leader of his people, and his forces are very important to him. He sees the other species, the Terrans and the Zerg, as lesser races still. So he's not a great uniter like Artanis, although he does respect Artanis' vision. Arun, when we last saw him, had kind of forged a tentative compromise with Elms, a Terran mercenary who has some psionic abilities, although she seems unfamiliar or uncomfortable with using them. So we're going to find out more about her and her history as well in the next few issues. And lastly, of course, we have Neadra, who has proven herself to be quite a strategist so far, manipulating her enemies into being precisely where she wants them.
And I understand that there's been some changes in terms of the formats to look forward to as well.
Yes, so we heard your feedback. Thanks to everyone who gave it. Our next 3 issues that accompany the next war chest will have more pages. So we're going up to 8 pages per issue. And we'll also be featuring the work of yet another amazing artist. We have Miguel Sepulveda drawing the art for our next 3 issues. And I just wanted to let you know, even though we've been focused on the events on Adina here, they will have far-reaching consequences for the entire sector. So you can expect to see a few familiar faces as well in the pages ahead.
And we got a little sneak preview here. I want you to walk us through this little teaser.
Yes, so this is a work in progress. It is not final, but since everyone came to BlizzCon today or is watching online, I wanted to give you a peek at the next cover for issue 4. So you'll see Elms there along with Arun.
Of course, Shadow War is part of the initial war chest, and continuing to talk about some of that content that's going to live in upcoming war tests. Travis, talk to us about skins.
All right, thanks guys. Yeah, let's talk about what our thought process is when we're coming up with a new army for the war chest skins. So, you know, the lore of StarCraft is so deep and it's gone, we have so much content to draw from, and we really wanted to inject some of that flavor into the games that the ladder players are playing. They don't get to see a lot of that if they don't play the campaign. So really we can inject that fantasy and let players customize their own armies with different fully themed skins. You know, one of the important things also, though, is we want to stay true to the recognizability of the units as well and make sure that they still read well, because players have gotten used to instantly being able to recognize those shapes and colors and whatnot. So,
yeah, and I mean, I know that there's so much that it seems like would be artistically locked in. I mean, there's the idea of player colors, there's the idea of seeing armies with big different types of compositions, so you have to be able to parse that quickly. How do you begin at the initial concepting stage with that in mind?
Yeah, so the beginning of the concepting phase is really, we try to not limit ourselves. We think, we brainstorm out a bunch of ideas. We try to keep it really loose at the beginning and just fill a page with ideas. No wrong answers here. And then we start trying to narrow it down. We think, you know, how do these themes fit into the StarCraft universe? And do they fit within the race lore itself? Does it fit within the race? And then finally, we look at our narrowed down list of the most potential themes we could go with, and we work with the design guys to figure out what our new commander is, and we pull from that list, and will be our army that will be in that war chest.
And I mean, in this sort of concepting phase, where, you know, anything goes, do people just begin with like, here's a unit that I think might look cool this way? Are there specific units that you go for that are more archetypical for the race?
You know, there's no hard, fast rules. We kind of just, whatever inspires us at that time, we will just pick a unit and just start playing with it. You know, there's no hard, fast way of doing it. So, but our process, this is a little look into how we do it, how we inject that flavor. So, shout out to one of our artists, Sanjay Cho, who made this guy here. This is an aquatic broodlord, so we thought about you know, what if the Zerg evolved underwater, you know, and how could we translate that to a new theme set? So you can see here, we take the original, and then we do a paint over, and we go kind of crazy with it. You know, we really just explore with no rules. You can see we got really crazy with the colors here. We tried to get that crustacean feel on this guy. Even a little brutaling has a little hermit crab vibe to him. Once we have the paint over, then we have to actually make the unit. And when we start making the unit, we start making all kinds of discoveries. A big one that we have to do a lot of times is, because our game is so focused on team color, we'll have to neutralize the colors back a little bit and let the team color really drive the color. So you can see the a lot of that extra color got pulled out because it was clashing with the other team colors. Another thing we have to think about too is when we're adding components on these guys to respect the old hitboxes, because we don't want that to change. So you can see with this guy, we had the claws before, and we had to move those to the outside just so it fit within the old hitbox. So.
And I know that that process then extends to applying a single look sort of across the whole race. I know you have some full sets to show us.
Right.
Hit us with Protoss.
All right, yeah, let's get into it. And we can preview some of this War Chest 2 stuff coming out. So the Purifiers were a really fun set to work on. This was obviously Phoenix's army. It wasn't hard to think of the theme to do for them. These guys come from their home space station of Cybros, so we really took a lot of the aesthetic designs from that. These guys are a lot more sleek and sophisticated looking with the white armor. An interesting fact about the Purifiers are that these guys are not biological. These guys are actually robotic. The way that the Protoss normally communicate is through the Kala. That's how they're all connected. But these guys are actually connected through this AI, the Purifier AI here that you can see with the orange colors and stuff. So.
And I kind of like how all of these look like the Overwatch logo as Protoss.
Yeah.
Very sleek and sexy.
Yeah, it's those sleek shapes. So a lot of fun to make these guys.
What about Zerg?
So the Zerg, this was a lot of fun working on these guys. So this came from one of our theme lists where we wanted to make a dinosaur-like Zerg. So with these guys, with the skin, we wanted to get more of that kind of reptilian feel. You'll see a lot of like Stegosaurus plates and dinosaur skin type feel on these guys. So it seemed like a pretty natural fit for Dahaka trying to sell that Godzilla fantasy. So that's how we came up with this one.
And what about the Terran?
And the Terran, this was probably one of my favorites to work on. We had been wanting to do a full junker set, kind of get that Mad Max vibe with these guys. And so with these guys, the idea behind them is that they're like desert mercenaries, you know, so they're the surfacing and weathering on these units, you know, these things are sun-beaten, and they're not really trying to keep these things polished and well painted, you know, so we really wanted them to feel brutal, so we added things like spikes and blades. We put giant exhaust on everything. Our sound guys did an awesome job. One of the guys actually recorded some of his neighbors' muscle cars and just amped it up. And so when these things are revving through, you know, maps, they sound amazing. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are just static images that we're looking at. And you brought up that sort of exhaust feel. Are there other things with these skins, like different particle effects, or also slightly different audio for the Zerg and the Protoss?
Absolutely. So we did new audio on these guys. You know, we do new particle effects on them. And for every one of the skins that we do, we also do a new portrait. It's a small detail, but we think it adds a lot of flavor. So.
Of course, this is all in the upcoming War Chest 2. And at this point, this is where we're looking forward to you to take some questions from the crowd. We still have a few minutes left before the end of the session. Now, I know that there's microphones somewhere out there, but there's blinding lights in front of me, so I have no idea where they are visually. But I'm sure that one of your voices will eventually come through the microphone, and we'd be happy to hear. There it is! Yes. There's the microphone. Go to that microphone right there. And feel free to ask questions away. Look at that. Like I said, it's literally the easiest hosting job. I never have an...
Oh, Mirahan.
Woo! Mirahan.
The upcoming Commander, Mirahan.
Spoilers, how did you know?
Have you seen Matthew? He never writes, he never
Can you get
calls.
super close to the microphone, like you want to make out with it?
I saved that for Matthew. Sorry.
That is fantastic.
Thank you for making them a co-op commander. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Woo! That's awesome.
Our next question. Get in there. Don't be scared of that microphone.
Oh, of course not. Oh,
Much closer.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, no, actually, don't even speak to me yet. There's another microphone over here. Oh, my God, I didn't see you there.
Yeah, there's another one over here.
Hello. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you for taking my question. I hope I'm not stealing Jack Attack's question. I don't know if he's here or not. He posted a really interesting question to Reddit today, and in light of the free-to-play option that's now going to be available in StarCraft 2, I think it's very pertinent. What work, if any, is being done to give players feedback on their progress over time? As a former Bronze League hero myself, I'm often looking for ways to improve my gameplay. A lot of that data is available through singular replays. Is there any work being done to aggregate that information to help new players improve their skills in measurable ways?
Right. And I'd even extend that to, how do you think about new players who are coming into free-to-play? Because obviously there's going to be a whole slew of them. And how do you think about aggregating information to let them know what their improvement is?
So that's a great question. While I have nothing to announce specifically that we're doing right now, that is a goal that we have moving forward. As new players come in, we want to make sure that they understand how to play the game and what they can and can't do. So we are looking at new experiences and new ways to kind of teach them. And again, I have nothing to announce right now, but that is a goal of ours moving forward.
And again, I would just personally encourage brand new players who are hopping in to look for co-op as a great starting point, because that already has a lot of built-in progression with levels and the difficulties and so on, just as a way to get a comfortable grounding. And yes, I'm very excited to have your question at long last.
Yes, of course. I'm actually really loving the co-op. And now that you introduced Random Commander, do we get extra experience for selecting Random Commander? And what about the stuff that only has a 5-level cap? If you select Random Commander and get that, or is the experience just going to go to waste, or are you going to bank it until we buy the character? So sorry, two-parter.
Yeah. So we're not looking at doing an XP advantage for doing random. It's mostly, like if you're trying to mix it up for yourself, you can't decide who you want to play that night.
Sure.
So it's mostly just, to kind of mix it up for yourself. For the level 5 cap, the XP does not build up. As part of the leveling experience, well, first of all, I think the progression itself is pretty fun, just unlocking new abilities. But the other part of it is also sort of like a tutorial, kind of a way for you to learn the commander over time. So we don't want you to go to level 5, bank up to 15, and then purchase it, and then you're like, well, there's so many new things, I don't know what's going on, so.
Oh, of course, thanks.
Thanks for playing co-op.
Woo!
And our next question.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So going back to a lot of the story events in the Shadow of War, so are we going to be able to see anything like in-game similar to Nova Covert Ops within that realm?
Yeah, are we going to be seeing more in-game style covert ops?
Story.
Like
Sort of
with
connected
single
to or
player.
based on
Yeah,
Shadow
like
Wars?
with single player,
It was just a little bit hard to hear you there.
Sorry.
Right now our focus is on co-op, but the story is continuing through the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you check out what's happening there, I think you'll see a lot of interesting things unfold.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, next customer. Nice shoes, by the way. I don't know if we can get those on camera, but those are great.
Thanks.
Those are very orange.
I waited 2 hours for the shoes, too.
They were worth it.
Yeah.
Get super close to the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a question from our Reddit community, and they wanted to know regarding the download of the game, are there any changes upcoming since the current install files are so huge? For example, do you still require for people to install the campaign even if they just want to play the PvP modes?
So currently, to install for the free-to-play, you will be installing the entirety of the game. However, we are looking at ways that we can streamline, things that we can always make improvements to the game and players' experiences. But currently, you will be downloading the entire game.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi. Oh,
Hey,
Hey.
no, that's great.
Okay,
that was
great.
loud. We
Good.
love that.
Good. This is Buzz Wally. Thank you for picking part and parcel.
Thank you.
This is the only reason I'm able to be here, and I appreciate it. My question on behalf of the editing community is, are there upcoming enhancements to the editor? Things like features requested like server-side banks or any enhancements really for the editor experience?
So I wish my wonderful comrade Ryan Shooter was up here to talk to you. He would love this question. We don't have any plans at the moment that I can really speak of, but again, we are constantly working for ways to make those improvements. We're at that stage right now where we want to make sure that every last voice and every person that's playing the game has an opportunity to say those things and make those improvements that maybe we haven't gotten around to. So it's a perfect time to make that kind of feedback because we're at that mode right now.
Thank you.
Great. I think we have time for a few more. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, nice. Pleasure to have you here.
Stukoff.
Great to be here.
Very happy.
Sweet.
I think I speak for all of us when I say we're really excited for Mira and Matt, the new co-op commander. In the future, are we going to be seeing more commanders of that style where there's almost a 2-in-1? Or is that just a one-time thing with Mira and Matt because of their marriage?
So right now it's just a one-time thing. You know, if you guys have cool suggestions for combos, we could take a look at that. But yeah, it was just mostly their unique situation that made that really fun.
Thank you.
Should do a day 9 and tasteless commander, man.
I would play that.
Oh my gosh. Every time you'd issue a command, it wouldn't quite work. We're all washed up, try real hard. The commentary would be so good. Oh, so good. Yes, next question.
Hi. So I was wondering about War Chest number 2. If there's an ETA for that, if it's going to be early in the year, later in the year, or there's nothing to say, no announcement.
So the War Chest is definitely coming soon. We will have announcements. You should look out for those very, very soon. So I won't be giving a date today, but the War Chest 2 is coming very, very soon. So keep a lookout on the launcher, on our blogs. It'll definitely be there.
Double very, very.
Double very, very.
Thank you very much. And Gabriel Tosh as a co-op commander would be really sick.
Oh.
Just saying.
Tosh.
Yes. Does she want to
Tychus.
Last year at BlizzCon, there was something called a watch tab and a Battle.net update post. Is there anything more you can tell us?
The watch tab is definitely something that we are interested in. This year, as you saw, we did a lot of stuff, and we just didn't get around to getting to that. But the watch tab is something we're still very, very interested in. It's on our slate to look at. I wish I could share more with you, but we are very excited for what it could become.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, this is for the skins that are coming out. And I was curious, you do audio treatments of these skins as well. And I was wondering how, on the audio side of things, you work to maintain readability of the spells, which are an important piece of feedback for the player, as well as imparting a very unique flavor to it, while also keeping the unique sound of what that ability is.
I'm sorry, it's really hard to hear. Were you talking about sounds?
Yeah.
Sound effects?
I'm sorry, I'm not loud enough.
No worries. The speakers get some feedback. Oops. So yeah, with the sounds, we really try to work with what's already there. And then we look at the theme that we're using and just try to push a little bit of that flavor into it, but we don't want to stray too far with what players already recognize for exactly the reasons you mentioned. People are used to hearing certain sounds, and on the visual side as well, with particles and just the skins themselves, we really try to keep it true to what it was before to keep that recognizability. And sometimes it takes a couple passes to get it just right. So.
Okay, would you say that with that little bit of flavor, it's a noticeable difference, or is it something you really have to listen for?
It's a noticeable difference, but we don't want to make it so noticeable that you don't recognize the character anymore.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, and I think this is our last question. So this better be the best question that's ever been
No
asked
pressure.
in the history. No, you can ask whatever you want. That's fine.
Okay, everyone loves StarCraft on PC. It's a great RTS experience, but when are you going to bring that RTS experience to the mobile platform? So something in the vein of Clash Royale so that you can stop that competition and make RTS on mobile great.
I think I'm going to let you answer that, David.
I don't know. That sounds awesome.
Sounds super awesome to me.
We should We should ask Mike Marham about it. I'll ask him.
And don't forget that you can still play StarCraft 1 on the Nintendo 64.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Dust it off.
Well, hello.
Well, that concludes the StarCraft What's Next segment. For any of you that have any questions, there is the, what's the name of the bar?
Joey Ray's Bar.
There's the Joey Ray Bar. It's in the building. They didn't 3D print it. They 2D printed it, life size. It's an actual bar. All the developers are going to be hanging out there. Feel free to go down and say hello to them. And once again, thank you so much to our wonderful panelists, not just for providing all this great information, but for making StarCraft 2 awesome.
Thank you, Day 9.